What is up, everybody? My name is Chris Ruden, and this is the first ever episode of my new podcast called the Chronically Motivated Project. This project is aimed at helping people think more effectively. You know, everyone goes through a lot of shit in their lives. Yes, I said shit. This is a podcast that has curse words. This is more explicit, and I'm going to let you guys get to know the real side of me. But I promise it'll be so worth it. As I said, this project helps you get through the shit in your life. Everyone has gone through some shit so far, and if you haven't, I promise you it's coming. We need to learn how to think more effectively, so this project is aimed at giving you tips and strategies and different ways to break down these mental barriers that stop you from adapting and overcoming those situations that are seemingly impossible at the time. If you don't know who I am, that's a shame. As I said, my name is Chris Ruden, and I was born with 2 fingers on my left hand and a shorter left arm. I also have type 1 diabetes. Being born with a disability, it's not easy, but then again, no one had it easy. I don't care if you were rich or poor or disabled or not, or had a disease or not. Everyone had some form of struggle and hardship growing up. I'm no different, but I do want to share a little bit about me before I go into the topic of today's episode. I was born with a physical disability, which means I was bullied. I was made fun of, because I was different. It sucked. I wasn't always this tough kid who, could deal with everything. I acted like nothing bothered me. People would make fun of the way I was born or call me a monster, even not pick me for stupid shit like recess. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I did. Man, it hurt, That's the reality of it, is it did hurt. But in being picked on and bullied, I learned character. I learned how to become mentally tough and how to think effectively and how to overcome any situation thrown at me, So when I was diagnosed with diabetes, type 1 diabetes at 19 years old, which is about 8 years ago, mentally, I was ready. Now, I will not say I am some positivity hippie that would stand in a burning building and be like, oh my God, I'm so happy. This is amazing. Smiles. No, I would get the hell out because I'm not stupid. There's a huge difference between smiling through the worst situations in your life or learning how to think effectively and deal with it. Because I promise you, I could cry and bitch and moan and scream and post angry Facebook statuses all day about how I don't deserve this life. But that's not going to do anything for me. That's a waste of time. Why are you going to waste your time doing dumb shit like that? To me, that's dumb. It doesn't make sense. So I figured out how I could kind of repurpose my thoughts so that I could actually benefit from them. What can I do with what I have? What do I have? And where am I at right now? What can I do in this point right here? I'm disabled, just got diagnosed with diabetes. Is my life over? Oh my God, this is terrible. Stop. As cliche as it sounds, getting diabetes was the best thing that ever happened to me. Period. The reason I'm here today, the reason I have the businesses I have, the reason I have helped hundreds and hundreds of people mentally and physically get stronger is because of diabetes, is because of my disability, but especially because of that diagnosis at 19. That's when I made the decision to go into fitness instead of law. That's when I made the decision to build a fitness business to help people not just look better, but look better to build confidence in themselves, because that's something I never had. I figured out the best way to solve my problem is to help other people solve their problems. You teach best what you need to learn most, right? So I started helping other people with what I needed help with most. Body image, confidence. What could I do to help someone else in a similar situation? For me, it was fitness. For you, it may be something completely different. But I promise you, in listening to this podcast, you will learn how to turn obstacles into some form of opportunity. You will learn how to take the worst situations in your life and not only grow, but help others around you grow and get better. It doesn't matter what happens to you in life. It matters how you react. This podcast is all about reaction and responsibility. Not a responsibility to yourself, which you do have 100%. You are responsible for your life, but a response ability, your ability to respond to any situation that happens. Regardless of the difficulty, the ability for you to respond is there. I chose my response at 19 years old, and that's what landed me to the position I'm in right now. I work from home. I'm a professional speaker, and I travel the country speaking at a variety of events, getting paid at those events, might I add. I've been lucky enough to build a social media following that has allowed me to build a business online and help hundreds of people lose thousands of pounds, including mostly people with chronic illnesses like type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, MS, CF, lupus, all kinds of, including people with disabilities similar to myself. In short, I've helped people because of the issues I've had. Chronically motivated is a concept that I've kind of tossed around because it's a necessity. It's funny because this show is called Chronically Motivated, but I think motivation is complete garbage, to be honest, because motivation is so temporary and so fleeting. There's no point in being motivated if you don't do anything, if you're not willing to do something. But chronically motivated, forever motivated, constantly motivated by this idea that will never leave you. When you wake up, right before you go to sleep, in the middle of your day, when you're at your busiest, that chronic motivation, that factor, that why, that's what matters. Once you find that motivational factor that is chronic, that is just there all the time and will never leave and can never be cured, you'll be driven to do something about it. Until then, just keep listening to me. So today's episode, I want to start with a motto. On Mondays, we're going to be talking about mottos. I'm usually going to pick a quote, and we're going to go really deep into that quote, probably way too deep, and beat a horse with a stick. What's that saying? Something like that. Something about beating a dead horse, which is probably the worst quote ever. That's not the quote of today, but it's a terrible quote. Today's quote: "What you can't cure, you must endure." I found this quote, and I immediately was like, damn, that's on point. I like that a lot. That's very true in regards to medical situations. I took it as, okay, I have diabetes, I can't cure it, so I must endure it. Pretty simple, you know? But then I started thinking, how deep can we go with this? What you can't cure, you must endure. That's life. That's fucking life. That is everything about life. If you have a problem or a situation you're in and you can't fix the situation, you have to endure it. You can try and go around it. If you can't fix it, if you can't cure it, you have to deal with it. That is life. Somehow, somewhere, people think life is supposed to be this thing that is just amazing and beautiful. It can be, but you have to be willing to go through the shit, you know? Let's take diabetes, for example. People just bitch and complain and moan and cry, and they're just complaining because, oh, we need a cure, we need a cure, we need this. Man, what you need to do is set your mind right so that you can actually deal with the situation at hand. The funny thing is you sacrifice your health and your happiness for something you can't have in your situation, and you feel so entitled to being cured. You know, this is so important. It's important to you, but to the person with CF, or the person with multiple sclerosis, or the person who's dying of cancer, or the person who can't afford food, you know, that's important to them. But in your mind, it's so important because it's your problem, you know? And yes, diabetes can suck at times. It really can. But what sucks worse is the way you think about your problems. What can't be cured must be endured. And there's a way to endure. Take two people diagnosed with diabetes at 19. One person is diagnosed, falls into this deep bout of depression, chooses to do nothing with his life, isolates himself socially, takes drugs, drinks his life away, posts at least 4 status on Facebook talking about how complications are going to kill him, and does nothing with his life, further ruining the perception of life with diabetes for anyone watching. Or take the other position. Understand that you can't control it. You were diagnosed, you didn't deserve it, you didn't earn it, it's not your fault, it's not your parents' fault, but you have it. It is what the current situation is, so what now? You learn to endure. You learn to adapt, and you learn to make something of it. Turning an obstacle into an opportunity to help other people. I was diagnosed at 19 years old. At that time in my life, I was clubbing and doing kind of dumb shit. But at least I was a little older, I feel for some of these kids who were diagnosed at a young age. I couldn't imagine living with diabetes and not having a mentor, not having someone to look up to, not having a hero that has dealt with the situation and tells them it's going to be okay. Of course, their parents are going to tell them it's going to be okay. But why can't you, listening right now, why can't you be that motivation for them? Why can't you choose to endure this situation, diabetes, or any medical condition, or anything, any problem of that sort, to inspire someone else that is struggling, possibly worse than you, unless you feel so confident and cocky that your situation is the worst possible situation in the world, that you are just the lowest person on the totem pole. Like, get the fuck out of here. No. Like, take it as a responsibility to yourself and to other people to learn how to manage your life regardless of what life throws. If you can't cure it, you have to endure it. Oh, but Chris, we're fighting for a cure. That's what we're doing right now. We walked and we marched. I'm like, that is great, honestly. Like, woo, that is... I support that 100% and constantly will support every single walk to cure whatever condition there is, because I am type 1. But you cannot cure it right now, so you must endure it right now. Well, we're going to cure it later. Well, then, okay, well, you have to endure it now and you can cure it later. That's fine, but you need to learn how to endure it. You need to learn how to deal with it like a woman, like a man. You need to learn how to deal with it like a respectable person and not just be some self-loathing, disabled, diseased person. That's not who you are. Your disease doesn't define you. Your physical appearance doesn't define you. Your weight doesn't define you. Your financial status doesn't define you. You define you. Your actions define you. And if you're so convinced that you can't endure it, I have nothing to say to you because you are wrong. You can. It won't be nice. I said endure, not enjoy. Make the difference. I'm not telling you to enjoy your condition. I'm not telling you to enjoy not having money. I'm not telling you to enjoy a shitty job or a crappy life or whatever situation you're in. I didn't say enjoy it. I said endure it. That's real. Whenever something good happens, something bad is bound to happen. And whenever something bad happens, something good is bound to happen. That's called balance. That's called life. Learn to have balance in your life. If you learn to expect things to go wrong, I know that sounds so negative, but as you listen to this podcast, you'll really get an insight into my mind and how I think and how I really encourage all my clients to think. You're not as disrupted by shit that happens when you kind of expect it. When every time you go to drive in your car, there's a possibility that your tire can go flat. So if it does, are you completely like, oh my God, I never even thought this was a possibility? No, if you kind of expect that, like it is a possibility. And if it does happen, I'll deal with it. But what we do is we like to create problems that aren't even there. Kind of like what I just did, but in a negative way. We like to say, okay, tire goes flat. Oh my God, now I can't afford the tire and I'm going to have to pay for the tire. Then I can't afford my bills. I'm going to get kicked out. I'm going to eat on the street. I'm going to starve. I'm going to die. All from something that most likely is not going to happen. Because if you pay for your tire, you will find a way to pay for your rent. And if you can't pay for your rent, you'll find a way to live. At the end of the day, that 10 out of 10 in the worst possible situation in the world is really a 4 out of 10. It's not as bad as you think. You will always find a way to make it, because as humans, that's what we do. We survive. We find a way. We endure. Regardless of your situation, whether it's your job, whether it's school, anything, find a way to cure it. If you can cure it, do it. If your job is making you so damn miserable that your stress levels are so high, and if you're diabetic, your blood sugars are soaring and your cortisol is just through the roof, you're so stressed and you hate life, get a new job. Well, it's not that easy. I didn't say it was easy, but it's possible. If you spent a quarter of the amount of time you spend on Facebook bitching, looking for a new job, you would be happy in a week. That's the reality. But it's so easy to get caught up in this negative, engulfing mess of shit and just wanting to let everyone know, almost competing for the top misery spot in social media. Like, guys, I heard you had a flat tire, but I had a flat tire and I spilled coffee on myself and my foot hurts. Like, people are fucking competing today to see who has it worse. Like, no one cares. That's the reality too. No one cares. At the end of the day, you have to learn how to endure your life. You have to learn to move around the hardships. And if not, you need to learn how to move through them. You know, there's nothing I can do about my diabetes or my disability right now. I can't think it better. I can't positive it better or have some affirmations or beat on my chest like Wolf on Wall Street and make it like magically better. No, I learned to endure. And you can, no matter the situation. I guarantee someone's going to write in talking about how their situation is so bad and how I'm wrong about this. Like, if you were willing to fight for your excuses, you win, because no one is trying to fight you back for them. No one is trying to take them from you. People guard their excuses like it's the most valuable asset they have and that everyone is trying to steal them. Like, no, dude or girl or whatever you are, like, I don't care. If you feel the need to make an excuse as to why you are playing victim or why your life is so bad or why you can't do anything about it, you're investing that energy into the wrong thing. You're investing energy into the problem, not the solution. And I know that sounds really dumbed down and simple, but it really is that simple. If you can't cure it, you have to endure it. That's the reality of life. You can't really overcome problems because the problem is the problem. You can only overcome your mindset about the problem. For example, when I decided to start being more confident about my diabetes or about my disability, I didn't wake up one day like, oh my God, I faced my problems. I overcame my obstacles. I now have a hand. I now have a working pancreas. Oh my God, my problems have been overcome. Like, no, when you overcome your problems, the problem's still there. You overcome the way you think, which means the true problem is you. Damn, yeah. Yeah, that's a reality. The true problem is almost always you. Not in what happens to you, not in whatever situation you are, not how you grew up or what family you were raised from. It's you. It's the way you think and the way you choose to react. And yes, you do choose to react. Yes, it is hard to choose a better reaction. But I don't care. It's not about what's hard. It's about what's right. It's about what's going to move you forward. When you think effectively, when you learn to think effectively, you learn to think about things that are going to push you forward and not hold you back. When you get into this pity state of why my life sucks or why it's so hard or why I can't endure it, you're basically choosing to endure it in a shitty way. you're choosing to roll the windows down in South Florida heat when you have AC. Like, you are literally choosing to deal with it in the worst way possible, because problems are going to continue to occur in life, whether it's from a medical, physical, mental, financial point. Those problems will be forever consistent, up and down, sometimes more than others in life, but the problems will always be there. You always have to endure, and you're going to endure because you're not dead. So you're going to continue to endure, just in a really shitty way with a really low quality of life, all because you chose to think in a negative way. Not just negativity, but in an ineffective way, in a way that limits you from ever enjoying life because of your problems. You live for your problems rather than your ability to overcome them. That's the hard truth. That's the hard truth, guys. Now, on the flip side, I'm not saying you have to endure everything. You have to deal with the shitty situations always. I'm not saying you always have to live with these crappy situations. You can always do something. There is always something you can do. For me, enduring my situation means making the most of it. I've built my online personal training business and my online fitness challenge for type 1 diabetics and my online life coaching program and my professional speaking program and all these other things that I'm doing. I've built these things in the process of enduring my hardships, enduring life as a disabled diabetic person. That's the way I endure and make the most of it. How do you endure? What choices do you make to endure your current situation? Is there a cure for your situation, for the obstacle you're going through, for the problem you're facing right now? Is there a cure for it? Can you do something about it to make it go away? If no, what can you do about it to make it better or less shitty? What can you do to endure it in a way that won't ruin your quality of life? There has to be something. There has to be something. The one thing I want you guys to take away from today is that you have a choice. Choice will be a recurring theme on this podcast, because I'm a full believer that you have the ability to choose a better life. Not in that you have the ability to choose more money or better cars or not anything like that. I'm not telling you to rob a bank. That is a choice, and it's a terrible one. You have the choice to control how you think. You have the choice to react in your head and control your reactions outward. You have a choice in what you think, you know? You have a choice in your life. This is your life. And your life, your responsibility is controlling your choices. If you can't cure it, you have to endure it. Make sure you guys check out tomorrow's episode, Trash Talk Tuesday. That's where I just kind of go in and destroy some things I really don't like. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about stupid motivational quotes, and it's going to be a real fun one. That's probably my favorite part of the week, so make sure you check that out. You can also check out my Instagram at Chris Ruden or my website, www.chrisruden.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this first podcast. And for my diabetic folks, on Thursday, I will be posting my weekly Donuts and Diabetes Day podcast. Just talking about diabetes in depth. It'll be a really fun talk, so make sure you check that one out as well. Thank you so much again, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.